Hi, my name is Sophia, and this month I tried practicing the Multicultural Day dances for the first time. I would consider myself a pretty uncultured person. I am Chinese, but only in the way that I've been told is called a Twinkie, meaning I'm yellow on the outside, white on the inside. I was born in China, and I moved to the United States when I was 4 years old. And I was so little back then that, to be honest, I don't have a lot of memories of where I was born. And I don't think I have enough memories of a large part of my family that still lives there. My Chinese heritage is probably one of the first things another person would notice about me, but it's something I know so little about myself. I feel like I'm stuck in a weird in-between of, am I Chinese, am I American, am I an immigrant, am I not? As a kid especially, I spent a lot of time feeling confused by and a little ashamed of who I was and where I came from. I didn't want to be different, and my accent, the lunches I brought to school, the language my parents spoke, those were all things that made me different. Another thing I'm not so great at is dancing. I am awkward, I am klutzy, and I am absolutely terrified of making a fool out of myself. So coming to East as a freshman, I knew that MCD was really popular here, and I was offered the opportunity to join CSA, the Chinese Student Association, but I turned it down. At the time, I told myself I was too busy. I had too many other activities going on. But looking back on it, part of me knows that I was just scared. Scared of messing up on stage, scared of looking different, and scared of having to look for the answers to some of the questions about myself that I'd avoided for so long. For the past 3 years, I've watched all the MCD dances, I've gone to their booths, and it's a really fun event. I love the food, I love the colors, I love the fact that spring break is starting soon, but most of all, I love seeing all the East students who are so proud of where they come from, who do have the confidence to share that in front of the whole school. I think that's the main reason I wanted to do this video and why I wanted to practice their dances with them. I was hoping to get out of my comfort zone, face some of those fears I had, to learn about their clubs, and maybe something about myself along the way. Okay, that sounded really corny, so we're just gonna cut to the part where I'm screwing up the dances. The first club I tried practicing with was the Indian Cultural Society, ICS, and going in, I felt a little bit nervous. I wasn't sure how the group as a whole would react to some strange Chinese girl crashing their practice and botching their routine. It didn't help that we started out with a dab and a chest pump, both of which made me incredibly self-conscious. I knew Kiva and some of the other girls in the club beforehand, and they were really sweet in helping me learn the moves. But I would still say that I was very stiff and very much in my own head. I thought the ICS dance had an interesting mix of both American and Indian elements. Overall, I felt okay about my first day doing an MCD practice, but I wasn't thrilled.
So this year is kind of reflecting how the Indian culture is now shifting into like hip-hop, like how K-pop has evolved. Indian culture is starting to do that, so this year's dance is reflective of that. And we're gonna have a lot of like American elements as well as like Indian elements to it as well.
But this year we're trying to actually build a story that would go with the theme and actually provoke more emotion, so that it would just be like better fit for the specific performance.
My second practice was with the Breakdancing club. In all honesty, this is the one I was dreading the most. The BDC seniors have a very tight-knit friend group, and I'm gonna sound really lame when I say this, but they all just sort of exude this casual confidence. So I was pretty surprised to find that their practice was actually open and accessible to people of all skill levels. Bowie was a great teacher, and even though I continued my trend of not really being able to keep up with the music, I still learned more than I thought I would, and I enjoyed breakdancing more than I thought I would.
Right hand up, left hand up.
There has been some controversy over whether Breakdancing Club counts as a real culture club. And I will say that in past MCD performances, I have wondered what BDC was doing up there with the clubs based on nationalities. But after having practiced with them and spoken to them, I feel like I can say that breakdancing definitely is a culture. It has a very unique identity, a style, it unites people, and it gives them a way to express themselves.
As a teenager, we're always hiding something, right? We're always trying to figure out who we are. As we dance and we express our feelings, we're trying to reveal our true selves and get rid of that hiddenness and getting rid of what we're trying to hide so we can be our true selves.
I mean, if anything, with Breakdancing Club, more so than with any other culture club, people chose to be there. Like, nobody is born into breakdancing culture. It's something they all sought out for themselves. As a result, I think the people in the club are exceptionally passionate about learning their style of dance and having a good time, and I did end up having a good time with them. Next up was the Chinese Student Association. Before I started, I asked my friend Juliana how she thought I'd do.
Everyone has their first time, so yeah.
And with that vote of confidence, I was ready to start. The CSA girls had a very, let's call it a hands-on teaching style. Half the battle was really just flicking my fan open and closed on cue. But even after I managed that, it was pretty clear that CSA was a little too far along in its routine for me to catch up. So Katrina, who has the patience of a saint, pulled me to the side and gave me a one-on-one lesson. I ended up learning a decent chunk of the dance, and it brought back childhood memories of watching traditional Chinese performances. It was still challenging, but at least I wasn't the only one who was having trouble.
A lot of people in the group have just been shy and not really outgoing with things. We have a lot of underclassmen this year, and I feel like this is their chance to break out from that, break out from what they're scared of and try to express themselves and embrace the Chinese culture. And also with some of the songs that we picked, one of them is from Mulan, and the story of Mulan is oh, a girl can't do what men can do.
Then I headed over to the Filipino Culture Society, where they were practicing the tinikling. In this traditional dance, two people click long wooden poles against each other and against the ground, while dancers hop over and between them. They actually had me learn the men's part of this dance because it's less complicated, which was fine by me. Of all the dances, this one felt the most high stakes, mostly because of the fear of my ankle being caught between two pieces of wood. But I would say that it was also probably my favorite dance to learn. I liked that I didn't have to worry about what to do with my arms at the same time as my legs. Beth was super encouraging, and it reminded me of doing footwork drills in tennis. So I would rate this dance a 10, tinikling. Get it?
I'm the Taekwondo leader. What I did was I was being inspired by YouTube videos that also practice Taekwondo, and then I implemented that with K-pop, so Taekwondo can have both a traditional and modern sense.
Next up was Taekwondo with the Korean Culture Club. Even though I couldn't have asked for a better teacher than Nicole, this one was just too fast for me to keep up with. I am in absolute awe of everybody in the group who manages to pull this off.
The Taekwondo has been part of Korean culture for a very long time, so that's why we have the traditional Taekwondo perform at the beginning, and then the hidden identity is when we collaborate with the dancers to put a more modern sense to Taekwondo. In Korean culture, Taekwondo poses as a way to self-defense and also teaches patience and discipline.
By this time, I'd gotten a lot more comfortable with dancing on camera and a lot more willing to laugh at myself. I liked learning about the history of Taekwondo from Nicole, and overall, I would call it a success. I also learned part of the KCC fan dance, so I got to see two sides of the same culture. The Taekwondo was fast and sharp, but the fan dance was more smooth and elegant, and Iris, who taught me, has a very soothing presence.
Yeah, so unlike other culture groups who have fan dances, so KCC, we kind of focus on the traditional aspect of it to show like how, I guess, how much the dance has evolved.
I'm not a naturally graceful person, but I really loved this dance. We did some twirls, we made a flower, we made a spiral, and I left feeling very relaxed and a little bit elegant.
We're kind of showcasing that like, I guess Korea or Korean culture isn't just, I guess, the mainstream, what you see like on TV, like BTS, or like it's not just K-pop. So we kind of want to show there's, I guess like there's like beauty in like the traditional fan dance. Oh, okay, look at it. We wanted to retell a story basically of the life of an immigrant who has basically a grandson who doesn't really know the difficulties in the life that the grandfather or just like someone like older has like went through in their past life. So we wanted to basically start from this happy life in Vietnam that he once had, but it was destroyed by the Vietnam War, which we will represent through the guys' marching dance. And then we'll tell the story of him crossing the country overseas to America through like a boat back in the day, and do a very like emotional dance there, and then at the end tell his difficulties in America, but end it on a happy note, having like a celebration type dance, saying his like success in America. We wanted to more focus on the whole Vietnam War aspect, because a lot of people know that story in the eyes of like an American. Like we learn it in school and history class, but we don't really know the Vietnamese side, the real stories that like our parents have lived through. So we wanted to incorporate that in our performance and have a kind of like memorial service in our dance, basically honoring those soldiers who have fallen in the war and how it has affected the lives of our parents and our grandparents. And that's that hidden identity aspect of what we don't know under like that like face or mask.
I ended my MCD dance practice journey with the Vietnamese Culture Club's hat dance. Nafisa stopped by to wish me luck. The individual steps I learned were simple, but they added up to create this really beautiful pattern within the group. I also loved the storyline that Shermeti created with the choreography. This was my 7th dance, and by the end, it felt completely natural to just be going off to MCD practice. Okay, so some takeaways from practicing the dances with the MCD clubs. First and foremost, I gained a tremendous appreciation for the work that goes on behind the scenes. It is so freaking hard to learn the choreography that these clubs have to learn, and they make it look natural and beautiful, and I have so much respect for people who commit to learning that. I was also pleasantly surprised by how supportive all of the clubs were of someone like me who is inexperienced and frankly untalented. The students who taught me the dances weren't just patient with me, they were enthusiastic and excited and happy that I was joining them to learn about their culture and practice their dance. Just in the couple of hours after school that I was there for each club, I saw such a strong sense of camaraderie and family, even within their stressful practices. And having never been part of an MCD club myself, I would still 100% recommend the experience to other people for that reason. As for what I've learned about my own cultural identity, I still don't know what it means to be Chinese American, and I don't know if I ever will. But what I have learned is that there's a great group of kids at East who have a lot of the same feelings as I do, and who are sharing them out into the world, contradictions and all. Our school is so lucky to have MCD, this tradition that's like 1,000 little different traditions rolled up into one. We are so lucky to be engaged in a dialogue of who we are, where we came from, how we're similar, how we're different, and how that's great. The theme of this year's MCD is hidden identities, revealing a side of yourself that you wouldn't have before. So in honor of that, I guess, here's my video. Here's to not hiding my horrible dancing. Here's to not hiding my fear. And here's to not hiding the questions that we leave unanswered.